now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is the introductory seminar for Kharagpur Open Source Society. And without much ado, let's just dive right into it. We have this phrase, this quote for you. This is by Linus Torvalds, who is the unsaid god of open source. He said, "In real open source, you have the right to control your own destiny." Now, our target is that by the end of this seminar, you have a good understanding of what this phrase means, right? So let's just deconstruct this bit by bit. So the first and the most basic question is, what exactly is open source? So the open source philosophy says that the source code for any piece of software should be free to download, modify, and distribute, right? So when I say it should be free to download, I do not mean free as in free lunch. I mean free as in freedom. You should have the freedom to download, modify, and distribute a particular piece of code. This is what the open source philosophy says. So in a way, the open source philosophy and the idea of open source is replicative and reflects basically the fundamental rights of freedom as a human being. So the philosophy itself is in order to become a developer, in order to become an open source developer, you do not need to fill any kind of form or give any kind of contest, or you don't need to become an open source developer. All you need to do is write a piece of code and make it publicly available, right? So once you have made the code publicly available and ready to share, you must provide the guarantee that the source code will be available, will be publicly available and free to use for the entire duration. I mean, it will always be free to use. So this is who an open source developer is, right? So a lot of different people have different idea about who an open source developer is, but I think after this definition, you have a clear idea of who an open source developer is. Right. So in order to understand open source in a pretty detailed manner, we shall compare two products, namely Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. So can anybody tell me what is the major difference between Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome? I mean, of course, we're talking about open source. So can you tell me which out of these two is open sourced?
Mozilla is open.
Mozilla.
Yes, exactly. So Mozilla is open source, right? So the source code for Mozilla is publicly available, and you can just go ahead and clone it to your local device. You can modify to your liking. You can tweak it as you want, and then you can the new version that you have of Mozilla, you can even redistribute it to a certain limits. There are some restrictions, legal restrictions there, but you have a certain amount of freedom there. But if you try to search for the source code of Google Chrome, you won't be able to find it. The reason being that Google Chrome is a proprietary software and Mozilla Firefox is an open source software. So let's just try doing that, right? Let's just for the source code of Firefox and try to build it. So if I just type in build Firefox and let me search this on Google. So my results and your results are the same. and we'll go through the official docs and see how we can just download the source code. So I've already done this once, as you can see. And they have their source code publicly hosted. As you can see, this is the official Firefox doc, and they have their entire this thing. How do you download and how do you build Firefox from their source code? So I'll just go here. I'll clear out everything. So this is my terminal, and I'll just move on to my home directory. Yeah. So Firefox basically uses version control system known as Mercurial, which is somewhat like if you've heard of Git, it is similar to Git. So if I just in Git you do git clone followed by the repository URL. Here we do hg clone followed by the repository URL, and if I just press enter, it will now go ahead and fetch the entire source code of this the Firefox source code. So it says the destination is not empty because I've already done it. So it takes nearly about an hour to download. So it says it's already there. So I'll just move in and I'll show you the source code. So I went inside this folder and I'll just open my this thing. I'll open up my file manager and you'll be able to see the entire source code for Firefox from where you can just go ahead and build it on your own. It takes a while, but so as you can see, this is the entire source code. You have a shell script here, which is called Mac. This basically helps you to install the entire. If I just do build Mac build, it will build this browser. So this is something that you can only do with an open source software and not with a proprietary software. I cannot do the same for Google Chrome. So I think now you have an idea how Firefox and Chrome differ from each other, and what do I mean when I say Mozilla Firefox is open source while Google Chrome is not. However, Google Chrome itself is built upon another open source repository, another open source. So can anybody tell me what this
Chromium.
Exactly.
Chromium.
So this is Chromium. So Chrome itself is built upon another open source product called Chromium. And this is not something that something limited to Google. A lot of major companies do this. So they have a base open source product and they release their product on top of that. So a lot of you may have heard about VS Code. The source code for VS Code is open source. But if you go to VS Code, if you go over to VS Code's website and download it from there, the binary that you receive, the binary will not be an open source binary. It will be a proprietary binary, and that is proprietary of Microsoft. On the other hand, there are a lot of different versions of VS Code. For example, there's VS Codium, there's VS Code OSS. These different distributions are basically open source variations of the VS Code binary. So since VS Code is open source, you have the ability to modify the source code and create it in your own manner. You modify it to your liking and change the things that you want, keep the things that you want, and just customize it to your content. So that is the great benefit of an open source paradigm. All right, so trivia time. I think all of you know about Steve Jobs, right? He's the founder of Apple and Pixar and everything. He's one of the greatest legends of the tech industry. But do you recognize this person?
Richard Stallman.
Person whose image.
Father of
Right,
software.
exactly. Exactly. And what is he famous for?
FSF.
GNU.
Right. So he's famous for the GNU compiler collection and also Emacs. So you guys currently, I think in your PDS labs, you may have been working on, I think it's code blocks, right? So if you were back on campus, you would have actually worked on, you would have written your code on Emacs and you would have compiled your code using the GCC compiler. So you would have a much better idea and you would have first-hand experience of products written by Richard Stallman. So yeah, he's a pretty great personality, and you can definitely follow him. He's a really interesting fellow. You can follow his works and some of his books and writings are really amazing. So you can go ahead and look him up. Now coming to about us, who are we? We as in COS. So we are a group of whose focus on something more preliminary and relevant. The focus is a love for coding. So each and every one of us at COS have a deep, undying love for coding, and yeah, you can. This is how we would like to describe ourselves.
Sorry to
So
intrude, but your
before
voice
we,
is breaking.
all right,
Yeah,
is it?
actually the voice is breaking a lot.
I think there may be some issues with my internet connectivity. Let me try and or reshare my screen and let's see if that helps. Is my voice okay right now? Or is it still bad?
Yeah, it's better.
It's okay.
It's better. All right. So I'll share my screen and let's see if that affects anything. Right. So I've shared it, and is it okay right now, or has it gone bad again?
No, it's fine now.
It seems it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine right now. Okay. If at any point it goes bad again, you can just let me know. And okay. Meanwhile, I was checking out. You guys were discussing about my OS. So this is yes. Some of you guessed right. This is Garuda Linux with i3 gaps as the window manager and PCOM as its compositor. So all right, my voice is okay, right? I'm confirming this once again.
Yes.
Can someone? Yeah.
Yeah,
all right. Cool.
fine.
Great. So before moving on forward to describing what exactly is COS, let's just clear out a few things. There's a lot of miscommunication as far as COS is concerned. So let's just clear everything right from the start. So let's just discuss what is COS not before discussing what is COS. So COS is not a CP club. A lot of you are from the first year and you may have been in contact with your seniors, and your seniors may have given you advice like CP kar lo, subset hai zindagi mein. And because of that, you may have this notion that coding equal competitive programming. Even some of you will have this notion till the very end of your 4th or 5th year. But no, there's a lot of different aspects to coding apart from competitive programming as well. And COS is definitely not something that is a competitive programming club. Yes, a lot of us are involved in CP and some of us are really great at it as well. but we are not a CP club. So yeah, that is something that we should clear. Apart from that, we are also not an ML or AI club.
Your voice is
Same with CP. A
breaking
lot of us
again.
who are into ML breaking again.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can
Rahul,
do.
maybe you can
change the network.
Sorry.
Can you change the network? Maybe switch from one mobile data.
Change the network. All right, let me try doing that. Just give me a minute.
By the way, who answered the who identified Gnome and Richard Stallman? The very first voice that I heard. Hello.
Shivam, you are sounding like a professor. You're probably scared.
No, I mean if it were an offline seminar, we would have given out goodies for the people who gave the answer first. But sadly, circumstances don't allow us to do that. So.
Right. I'm back again. I changed my network and let me know if it is audible now or how is my voice?
Yeah, it is fine, I think.
It is fine. All. Yeah, sorry about that. If it breaks up again, just let me know and maybe we can have someone else cover up the rest of the slides. All right. So apart from ML and AI, this is something that I think is one of the most miscommunicated and one of the most popular myths about COS. COS is not a web development club, right? So in COS, we do a lot of different activities and projects which are related to web development, but it is not exclusively a web development club or a software development club in general, right? So you cannot say that COS is exclusively a web development club. And also another issue is that as an outsider, the only interface that you have with COS is from your events, workshops, and seminars that we conduct. So I think it is natural to feel that COS or only organizes events and there's not much else within COS, but that's also not true. There's a lot more to COS than just organizing events and seminars. And another important aspect is COS is not a research group. So we are not affiliated with any professor or the students' gymkhana. So yeah, COS is not a research group. And finally, COS is not a platform for GSOC preparations or fulfilling one's GSOC ambitions. GSOC stands for Google Summer of Code, by the way, for anybody who does not know of it beforehand. So if you are planning on joining COS, do not join it with the hopes that you'll get in and you'll crack GSOC. We'll train you in a manner to crack GSOC. It's nothing like that. You have to, like, this is not our primary objective. So now that we have clarified what is not COS, now let's just tackle the original question. What is COS? So we are a group of FOSS enthusiasts. FOSS stands for Free and Open Source Software within IIT KGP. And our main objective is to promote the open source culture within the campus. So this is how we describe ourselves. This is what COS stands for. Apart from promoting open source culture, we also try to increase the general technical know-how of the Janta as a whole. And in order to do that, we organize various workshops around the year. Some of these workshops are Git and GitHub workshop, which we had before you guys came into campus, I believe. We also had Python and REST API workshop, which we had recently. And then again, with it, we also had Linux and Vim workshop, pretty close to Python workshop. And back in December, we had the Kharagpur Winter of Code, which is basically from a model from GSOC. And we had it in the month of December and early January. So these are some of the events that we conduct. So now that you have a basic idea of what COS is and who we are, the natural question is, why should you bother joining? So the first and the foremost thing is that if you love building things for practical usage, you'll find a lot of like-minded people here. So if you have more of an inclination on the development side than your theory side, then you would find a lot of people here who have similar interests as you are. In a brief manner, I would say if you are a Howard than a Sheldon, then you would prefer joining COS. And kudos to you if you got that reference. So apart from that, we have people here are experts in their own fields, right? So if you have any kind of doubt, you can ask. So we have a Slack channel for Slack server for COS, and within the server, we have this channel called queries. So if you have any kind of query, you can just post your doubt within the channel, and the chances are pretty high that someone will come up with a solution and or help you out or guide you in the right direction. So yeah, this is something that definitely to look forward to. And also, if you any kind of technical buzzword that you can name, you'll find somebody within COS who is interested in it, be it web development, system design, blockchain, AI, DevOps, anything. You'll find somebody in COS who is interested in that particular domain. And yeah, it's not like there's all work and no play. We do have a lot of fun music and game session. These sessions help you build bond amongst your batchmates as well as your seniors. So yeah, these are also something to look forward to. All right, moving on to what do we do? So let's talk about it. One of the events that we do are workshops. So we conduct workshops all year round, things like Python classes, Git workshops, Golang classes, and so on. So you may even have attended some of our workshops, and you may have some idea about it If not, you can go to our YouTube channel and just have a look at some of these workshops and events. We also conduct other events. As I mentioned, K-Walk earlier. This is one of the largest. It's quite a big event that we conduct towards the end of the winter. And we also have the Open Source Summit, GSOC seminar, and lastly, internal talks. So we have lightning talks amongst internally amongst ourselves. And we also do projects. So projects are not directly affiliated with COS. It's just that when a group of us get together, we just work on some projects that we want to, and we have these by happy accidents. So some of these projects are, let's say, imagery. Imagery is basically a Slack bot, which we personally use in our Slack server. So what it does is basically any image that you upload on the server the imagery will automatically upload it to Imager. Similarly, you have Stockplot, which basically is an online platform for plotting and testing stock market data and strategies. We have CARE, which is a blockchain-based solution for adoption and registration of orphans due to latest COVID-19 crisis. So we do have a lot of projects that we work on, and yeah, these are just some things that we do. So yeah, this is just something that I think a lot of us can relate to. The first time you install Linux, it's generally some Debian-based distro, most probably Ubuntu, and you do a lot of sudo apt update and sudo apt install. And I mean, if you do not have idea about this, so sudo apt update basically updates a particular piece of software, and sudo apt install installs some software on your system. So if for me personally, when I installed Linux the first time, I did so much of sudo apt. I named my GitHub alias as sudo. So yeah, that is something that definitely got to me, and this is something that's relatable. I don't know if how many of you relate to this now. You'll maybe relate later. So moving on, again, we have some more trivia. So I want you guys to identify the mascot, and I don't want the name of the company. I want the name of this mascot. Somebody said GitHub. GitHub is the company or the organization.
Octocat.
I'm talking about, right, it's Octocat. Octocat is the official mascot of GitHub. Great. So I think this will be easy for you guys. Can you identify this distro? Yes, right. This is Arch Linux. So
funnily enough, someone put, by the way, I use Arch in the chat right just before this.
Of course, they had to. They had no choice.
People are gaining like awareness about different distros. Next time we'll use some maybe Gentoo or Parabola or Void or something like that, so that people cannot identify it easily.
Linux from scratch.
Great. All right, then I think I'll ask Parth to continue from here, and he'll tell you about MetaKGP. Yeah, Parth, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. So hello everyone. So I'll be talking a little bit about MetaKGP. So MetaKGP is a group of developers in Kharagpur, and as you can guess from the name, it means that they are mostly involved in projects that are related to KGP, right? They one of the main activities of MetaKGP is to build and maintain projects that are useful to the KGP students at large, right? So yeah, it is also a group of people where you can discuss things. I mean, we have alums from, I think, 2014 and stuff, very old alums who are still active, and it is basically a group of people that like to build stuff. And the best part is that it is not a society in the strictest way. It is a group of people, so it is completely free for anyone to join. You can join the Slack group here. I think, yeah, there is a link here. You can feel free to join there. Yeah, Rahul, can you just go to the next slide? Yeah, so some Meta KGP projects, you can see some Meta KGP projects here. So does anyone here use ERP auto login? Have you heard of it?
Yes, me.
Yes, sir, it's an extension.
Yeah. So ERP auto login is a Google extension which allows you to automatically log into ERP, so you don't have to fill in the irritating username, password, and like the question. Other projects are MFQP, My Freaking Question Paper, which is like a repository of question papers from previous years. Chill Zone is somewhat an obsolete project, I guess, in the digital age. Chill Zone was a project where you could find empty classrooms in KGP. And so, yeah, that was a pretty useful project earlier, but it's not anymore now. And yes, there are many projects that you can check out on GitHub, and you can also contribute to these projects. These are completely open source, and if you raise a pull request, there will definitely be someone who will guide you and help you get your contribution. Yeah, and unless I forget, there's the MetaKGP wiki. So one of the main aims of MetaKGP was that information should be available to everyone. There shouldn't be any there's information should be freely available to everyone to access. There shouldn't be like centers of information where you have to go and get it. So you could check out MetaKGP wiki. It has a lot of useful information related to KGP. I'll just share the link here. Yeah, so you could check that out. And yeah, so excellent. And another, the small events that MetaKGP conducts are demo days, and they were paused for quite a time, but now they have been restarted, demo days. So what happens with demo days is basically that if you have built something, if there's a project that you have created and you wish to get some feedback or showcase it to other people, you can sort of register for the demo day, and you could say that I want to present something that I have built and I would like feedback. So you could just post in the Slack channel, and in the next demo day, you whenever it is the demo day is happening, you will get a chance to do that. And demo days used to have cash prizes for the best presentation, but they don't anymore because of the online semester and other reasons. So yeah, the demo days are really exciting. You could check them out later. So yeah, please feel free to join MetaKGP. It is free for everyone to join. You could join the Slack channel and start interacting with the people there. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So, am I audible? Can I have a quick +1 or something?
Yeah, you are on.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's time to know something about K-Walk. It's a major event conducted every year by COS during winter vacations. So it was conducted this year too. It is being conducted since 2016, and it was conducted this year too. But you were new at that time, so many of you wouldn't have participated in that, but few might have participated. Next slide. Rahul, next. Yeah, so it's a 1 month long program for introduction to open source, in which people get to know how to contribute to real world softwares, and helps to make some really interesting projects which have practical importance in outside world. So this is the motto, and this is the entire description of KWalk. Now going by the stats. Next. Yeah. So the stats for KWalk 2017, the students registered were 2771, mentors registered was 69, and from KWalk, KGP, they were 29, and outside KGP, they were 36. And we were fortunate enough to get 4 foreign hosts as well. And projects were 104. And student who lasted with 1 commit were 274. Next. So you can see here that we have been increasing with number of mentors registered and number of projects registered. And even the students are taking part more and more. And so students with at least 1 commit were increased to 300. Next. It is KWalk 19 stats, and student registered were 2500 plus. Mentors again increased, and there were many choices for the projects too, and there were 200 plus projects. And even this number of students who lasted, who gave 1 commit at least, were 300 plus. Next. Next slide. Even in online sim, we conducted it very successfully with increased, again the increased number, and the consistency was upheld. So we are quite proud that we could conduct it successfully even in online sim. Next one. So as you have seen that a number of projects and the hosts and the number of students were increasing all the while. Next slide, please. Now it's time for some trivia questions. Get yourself ready with that. Next question. First question, please. Expand GNU. I have a quick question. Expand the I want the full form of GNU. You can unmute or write in the chat. Yeah, that's right. Someone wrote in chat, GNU, not Unix. It's the recursive full form. GNU in G, GNU is the only full form of G. So yeah, it's recursive one. Next. I want you to identify the person on the left. So yeah. The one having written on the shirt, I didn't invent the internet. Can you name the person? Yeah. Can you please also tell what he's known for?
World Wide Web.
Yeah. And the person on the right, extension question.
Invented HTML.
The person on the right, I did not invent the web with a t-shirt. I did not invent the web. Name of the person. So it's Windsurf on the person on the right, and he invented internet. Next slide. Yeah, so what are these badges on GitHub stand for? The right and the left, both.
The right one is for those who contributed in the NASA's like Mars rover project, I guess.
Yeah, you are.
The ingenuity room.
Yeah.
And the left one? Yeah, someone wrote in the chat. It's Arctic Cold Vault contributor and Mars 2020 helicopter contributor. So now you have to identify the open source alternatives of following proprietary softwares. Next slide. Yeah, so identify or name some open source alternatives for Gmeet. No, WebEx is not, but Jitsi is the one.
Zoom.
No, Zoom is not. Jitsi is the open source one. Yeah. So now identify or name some.
LibreOffice.
Yeah. Quick one, right?
Okay, this. Yeah.
Yeah.
LibreOffice Word.
Yes, in
Writer.
Linux.
LibreOffice Writer. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And you might be knowing menu for this.
Signal.
Yeah.
Signal.
Yeah. Correct. I have a smart bunch of audience. So look carefully. You have to name the company who issued this letter. And for the description, the founder of this company condemned open source developers openly in a letter.
We can see Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bill Gates.
It's
No, I want the company name. Yeah, it's Microsoft loves
Microsoft.
Linux. Yeah. Recently, WSL was released. Yeah. So name the logo and its parent company. Which software's logo is this? No, it's not IBM Cloud. Yeah. We have got one correct answer, PyTorch. And parent company? Anyone? Yeah, it's Facebook. Facebook owns PyTorch, and PyTorch is quite useful nowadays. Yeah. So next slide. Again, you have to identify the logo and its parent.
TensorFlow. TensorFlow parent company, I think, is Google.
Yeah, you're correct. Next one. Again, the same question. You have to identify the logo and the organization.
Apache.
Yeah. So the organization is Apache Software Foundation, and these services are provided by them. Next. Yeah.
Docker.
Yeah. It's Docker. Not soccer, it's Docker. Yeah. So you have to identify X and Y.
Linus Torvalds and Linux.
No, I'm not asking the person's name. I'm asking
Linux
what,
and Git.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Linux Torvalds. Said that line. Next one, please. It would be easy, I guess, for you. While Linux Torvalds doesn't use Ubuntu or Debian software.
Said that it was hard for him to install it.
Yeah, that's quite
Yes.
contrary to what his works are. Yeah. So the answer is this. Next one. So now we are open for any question and answer session. If you have any questions related to COS and its working and how we work, anything regarding you would like us to answer, please feel free to unmute or write in the chat. It's not your professor's class. You can unmute and ask. Even silly questions won't be.
Okay, like how do we come up with? Can we like mix with people and do our individual projects open source?
Yeah, in COS you have the freedom that you can work along with COS team members as well, and even from outside you can contribute yourself into your self projects or your group projects. There's nothing restricted that you have to work only for the COS. It's not like your company, you're working in a company. We are just a group.
Okay. Thank you.
For answering the question in the chat, we'll be discussing the selection procedure after this Q&A session. So apart from selection procedure, if you have any other questions related to course or anything, feel free to ask.
So
I
cost
think,
has a selection procedure as well. I thought it was open.
no, MetaKGP is open. Course does have a selection process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think there's another question in the chat. Malta, could you just check that out?
Is that by Piyush, right?
Yes.
What as fresher you all expect from us? We are not expecting you to be a software developer as such or to know stuffs a lot. Personally, I didn't had much experience with these things when I joined course. So it's your enthusiasm and your interest in open source and your love to teach and help other people grow. And you have to share the knowledge that you have. So it's your enthusiasm that we'll be judging majorly on. And apart from that, we'll give you a task and we'll give you time so that we'll be discussing in the selection procedure as well. There isn't any say threshold that you have to cross to be part of course. It's very flexible. Can I apply to course if I want to get applying to course and getting into GSOC are two entirely different things. So being a part of course is GSOC is not guaranteed, and being even if you are not in course, it is not like that you won't be able to crack GSOC. Many outside course members have also done well in GSOC and got selected in GSOC. And you can apply to any of the programs being part of course. What are the prerequisites in the sense of selection, right? If I'm getting it right. Yeah, so we'll be discussing about selection procedure after this. So apart from selection criteria and selection procedure per se, if you have any queries, please feel free. If you have job offer, yeah, you can. Yeah. Do we need to have immense knowledge in coding to get into course? Personally, I was not a person who was having a lot of coding skills, and even now I don't have much. But it's, as I've previously said, that it's all about your enthusiasm and what pushes you to continue and work in open source. It's your love for open source. We just define ourselves with the love of open source.
You don't need immense coding knowledge, but I think if you do have an interest in open source, you will definitely have some amount of knowledge, obviously, from your PDS and stuff. So we are just looking for curious people, enthusiastic people. That is the first thing that we are looking for.
So I guess we don't have any further questions. If we'll be having, you can even ask at a later point. So now going ahead, Rahul. Rahul, continue.
All right, my bad. I'm sorry. I thought I was unmuted. I'm audible now, right? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Right, great. So talking about selection procedure, so we'll be having our selections really soon, and most probably within a day or two, and we'll be releasing a post on our Facebook page. So please be on the lookout for that. And yeah, I mean, to give you a brief description about the selection procedure, so there'll be basically 3 stages to the selection. The first stage will be a short interview with you guys as and when you register, and after the interview, we'll be giving you a certain task. Most probably, the task will be of a teaching manner or a presentation manner. We may as well give you a coding task. It depends on your comfort level and your comfort zone and the things that you have explored. And once we'll give you some time to complete those tasks, and after that, we'll have a second interview with you, and there you will be presenting you with what you'll be presenting whatever work you've done, and we'll be finally evaluating you based on that. So yeah, this is broadly how our selections will go on. So before wrapping up, we just want to share this with you. So somebody on Quora asked, why did people create huge comprehensive websites like Wikipedia for free? To which Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, said, because it's awesome. And I think that is the best way to describe the feeling that you get when you contribute to a large code base, or your code gets recognitions or stars from different people, or some code that you write gets used by so many different people. So the feeling is truly awesome. And I don't think it can be summed up in any better than Jimmy Wales did. So we wanted to leave you with these thoughts. Do cool things that matter. So yeah, this is what we try to do, and this is what we would encourage you guys to do as well. So that brings us to the end of our presentation, and I think we can wrap it up now. The presentation is now over, and if anybody of you has anything to ask, you can stay back and ask. Otherwise, we can finish the session. Right. So thank you for joining in, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
The prerequisites for the selection procedure.
As mentioned earlier, the selection procedure will, there's not a lot of prerequisites. You just need to have a very curious mind and a passion for open source. You need to be dedicated towards promoting and using open source. And we'll give you tasks accordingly based on your experience and exposures. So yeah, there's not a lot of technical prerequisite. All the prerequisite that there is for you to be enthusiastic about FOSS.
Am I audible now? So I wanted to add couple of points for the selection procedure. So basically, with whatever knowledge that you have, am I audible? Like, can anyone confirm?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes. Great.
You're not audible now.
Now you're not audible.
Okay. Let me like reconnect. Hello.
Yeah, yes, you're audible.
Yeah, so thank you. So basically, I just wanted to add on 2 points. So basically, about the selection procedure. So like we will try to assess you based on whatever knowledge that you have. So like any added knowledge regarding open source, or if you have contributed to K-Walk or something like that, that would be a bonus. But if you have a knack of like helping out others and like being curious and being able to catch up on different like let's say programming language or framework, something like that, if you can show that, then we will be like quite happy to uh, assess you and take the interview process forward. So that was it.
I had to ask one thing. Like, I don't have much knowledge or information about open source. So, like, is there any way from where I can learn, like, any specific good source? Like, just the basic which you discussed today. Like, I wasn't aware much of things.
What specifically do you want to know? Like all about Linux and stuff like that?
Yeah. So,
Yeah. So, are you familiar with Git and GitHub?
no, I am not actually.
Yeah. So, I would say that you can start there by learning, because that is basically how that is the essential tool
Okay.
to participate in open source. At least the most approachable one. So if you go on GitHub and you start looking at projects, you will just understand that how it works, how people contribute to open source. Yeah. So Yash has, I think he has put a link in the chat, so you can go through that.
Okay.
And the other things like maybe the jokes about Arch Linux or about Torvalds or Stallman, all these things, they are just trivia and general knowledge, right? They are not essential, but they are a part of the culture. So I think personally, what you could do is you could just join communities on the internet where they discuss these things. There are Reddit, there are subreddits, there are mailing lists and stuff like that, right? Yeah, and even MetaKGP Slack, a lot of people are there who are enthusiastic about it. So yeah, you could check those out.
Okay. Thank you.
I like read a question out here. So like, I guess Aryan asks that do average people who don't know much about coding other than PDS, have they any chance? So about this, I would say that like try to market your best skills that you have. It does not needs to be related to coding. So it can be your presentation skills, how you like speak, how you like prepare content for the people out there, how you can like teach people. So that is another plus point. So if you have a knack to explain things to other in a quite an easy manner, so that people like quite like cherish you for that, so that would be a good added advantage. So coding is definitely not a hard requirement. Presentation skills and soft skills also matter a lot. Any more questions that you want to ask? I can understand this is like online platform where people are not comfortable in speaking up, but still you need to like step up and at least ask questions. So that would be good.
That was a tough question.
Which one?
जो अभी बॉम्ब फोड़ा हो.
नहीं, इश्यूज होते रहता है, ये तो भाई पार्ट एंड पार्सल लग रहा है.
Yep.
Okay, we have one question. So Parth, can you take on?
Which one? अरे बाप रे, ऐसा. Last question एकदम controversial है, guys.
अभी WSL के से तो पॉपुलैरिटी बढ़ गया विंडोज का.
Simply because Windows is more user friendly, I guess. Unless there is some better answer that most people use Windows. Because Linux is pretty, I would say, hard to figure out than Windows. I mean, that is my answer to that. कोई और आंसर है क्या?
Like, मेरे को पर्सनली ऐसा लगता है कि फॉर लिनक्स देयर आर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स दैट यू हैव टू कस्टमाइज बिफोर you can get started, so that might be a like have a steep learning curve, but once you get started it's really good. You can like run any